and welcome tonight. Respect the Supreme Court order on the 500 and 1,000 naira notes. That's the message from the APC National Working Committee and its governors after an emergency meeting in the nation's capital. President Buhari calls for more patience on the naira crisis, reaffirms his support for the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in next Saturday's election. Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Kuka, says Nigerians should look out for certain qualities on the choice of the country's next president. And on the foreign scene, rescue efforts end in all but two of the hardest hit provinces in Turkey, as hopes of finding anyone else alive in the rubble fades. Tonight we begin with President Muhammadu Buhari, who has reaffirmed his support for the candidate of his party, Bola Tinubu, as Nigerians approach election week and campaigns are expected to wind down in a couple of days. The president also says he's fully aware of the current hardship being faced as a result of some policies meant to bring overall improvement to the country. His message is contained in a video broadcast from Addis Ababa, where he's currently attending the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Governments of the African Union.
I am calling on specifically our traditional rulers, religious leaders, and parents to warn their followers and wards alike to not allow themselves to be used by a few to foment trouble. I want to assure you that the government has taken adequate security measures to allow everyone to come out and cast their votes. I am therefore appealing to everyone to give them the necessary support. Fellow Nigerians, I want to use this opportunity to once again thank you for electing me to be your president on 2 occasions. I am not a contestant in this election, but my party, the All Progressive Congress, has a candidate in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As I mentioned before, Tinubu is a true believer in Nigeria, who loves the people and the development of our country. I am calling on all of you to vote Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is reliable, and I trust he will build on our achievements. Finally, I want to once again assure you that I am fully aware of the current hardship you are facing as a result of some policies of the government which are meant to bring overall improvement to the country. I am appealing to you to exercise further patience as we take appropriate measures to ease these hardships. God willing, there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
President Muhammadu Buhari in Addis Ababa. Well, back home, the national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and other members of the party's National Working Committee, as well as APC governors, are called on the Attorney General of the Federation and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to respect the Supreme Court order on the 500 and 1,000 naira notes. Senator Adamu was speaking at the party's headquarters in Abuja after a meeting with the NWC members. Progressive governors also called on President Buhari to intervene in resolving issues causing great difficulties to the economy.
It is an emergency meeting of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress and the Progressives Governors Forum. One after the other, the governors elected on the platform of the APC arrived at the national headquarters of the party. The meeting, which is coming less than a week to the Presidential National Assembly elections, commenced at about 3 p.m. with the governors of Plateau, Nasarawa, Niger, Kaduna, Kogi, Yobe, Zamfara, Ekiti, and Jigawa states in attendance, while the deputy governors of Imo and Katsina represented their states. The national chairman of the party highlights the essence of the meeting.
You will recall the recent developments that has necessitated, the need for this invitation. We do not want to sit in judgment of anybody or anybody's, in regard to what is going on today in the country as it affects our great party.
As the meeting progressed behind closed doors, the presidential candidate of the party, Bola Tinubu, arrives at the party headquarters and later takes his leave without speaking to journalists. At the end of the meeting, which lasted about 5 hours, the national chairman of the party reads the resolution of the meeting.
And at the end of the discussion, we have resolved as follows. And this resolution is without prejudice whatsoever to the case that is lying in the Supreme Court at this point in time. This has to do with the issue of currency redesign. We note very seriously that the program and its implementation is causing tremendous difficulties to the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and to the national economy. That we urge the Attorney General of the Federation and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to respect the Supreme Court's order of interim injunction, which is still persisting. That the meeting is urging His Excellency, Mr. President, to intervene in resolving the issues that are causing these great difficulties to the people and to the economy.
The attendees have given their positions on the matter and hopefully looking forward to a decision that will go their way.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has promised to wrest power from the ruling party in Lagos State in the presidential and governorship elections. The party's vice presidential candidate, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, says necessary strength is being built to deliver the state at the polls. He said this as he received some leaders of the African Democratic Congress in Lagos who decamped to the PDP and promised to back the party at the state and presidential election. Our correspondent Timothy Crown Adirigbe reports.
Vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, is in Lagos in company of the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki. They are joined by the governorship candidate of the party in the state, Mr. Abdulaziz Adediran. Top on Dr. Okowa's agenda for this meeting is to receive some members of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, who are collapsing the structure of the party in the 20 local government areas of the state and adopting the candidates of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos and in the presidential election.
ADC member, can I hear you? PDP!
All we are here today is to do what is right and just. Not for our personal interest, but the interest of the commoners in Lagos State in particular, and Nigeria at large.
The Lagos State PDP governorship flag bearer says their support is strong enough to win the state for his party.
We will conquer all of them and come up with a formidable team to defeat this hegemony of over 20 years. Your Excellency, I have told them they are aware. They know that it's only our presidential candidate that's got a clear-cut policy of recovering Nigeria's economy and rescuing us in the insecurity state of the nation that we have found ourselves.
Dr. Okowa is excited by the turnout of these supporters, whom is confident and trusted to rally more voters for the party.
25th of February is just 6 days away. I know that you are very eager to take over Lagos State and for Mr. Jandon to become governor of the state. God bless you. And I know that it will surely happen by the grace of God. But the easiest pathway is to ensure that the Atiku Okowa ticket wins the election next Saturday.
The presidential election is now less than a week, and these party faithful promise to take their message to more residents in the state to ensure that the party wrests power from the ruling party using their votes. Timothy Crown, Adiribigbe, Channels Television News.
In less than a week to the presidential and National Assembly elections, and supporters of the Labour Party in Kaduna State have embarked on a ward-to-ward campaign to sensitize electorates on the need to come out February 25th and vote massively for the party's presidential candidates and other candidates contesting various positions on the platform of the Labour Party. Party supporters, led by its governorship candidate in Kaduna State, Jonathan Asake, took the campaign to Chikun local government area, where they are optimistic Mr. Obi will be elected as next president of Nigeria.
It's less than 1 week to the February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections, and the leadership of the Labour Party in Kaduna State is making what can be described as last-minute efforts to canvass for votes from the electorate across the 23 local government areas of the state. The party supporters have adopted a ward-to-ward campaign approach as a strategy to win the hearts of the people at the grassroots. Led by the governorship candidate, Honorable Jonathan Asake, the Labour Party members drive in a motorcade through communities in Chikun local government area, displaying the party's flags and carrying posters bearing photographs of the candidates. Among the areas visited by the campaign train include Ugwanromi, Sabontasha, Goningora, Barawa and Ugwan television communities.
Your labor will never be in vain. In a very few days' time, we'll be going to the ballot to elect our dear president, Mr. Peter Obi, so that Nigeria will be formatted, so that we will reset Nigeria, so that things will work again.
So far, the Labour Party has taken its electioneering campaign to 12 local government areas in Kaduna State with a determination to cover the remaining 11 councils in a couple of days.
They should come out and march on Saturday and vote for Labour Party and protect their votes.
I believe by the special grace of God, next week Saturday, the president and any other of the candidate in Labour Party will emerge victorious. And on the 11th of next month, I believe all our candidates will emerge victorious by the special grace of God.
While the Labour Party continues its campaign in Kaduna State ahead of the elections, the party is banking on the massive organic support it is getting from people to emerge victorious, and has therefore challenged the main opposition All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party to get ready for a stiff competition.
In part two, after the break, Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Kuka, should look out for certainties in the choice of the country's next president. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us, watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Respect the Supreme Court order on the 500 and 1,000 naira notes. That's the message from the APC National Working Committee and its governors after an emergency meeting in the nation's capital. President Muhammadu Buhari calls for more patience on the naira crisis, reaffirms his support for the APC's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in next Saturday's election. Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Kuka, says Nigerians should look out for certain qualities on the choice of the country's next president. And on the foreign scene, rescue efforts end in all but 2 of the hardest hit provinces in Turkey as hopes of finding anyone else alive in the rubble fades. Staying with politics, and forced leadership and godfatherism is a style of leadership inhibiting Nigerians' development. That's the thinking of the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Matthew Kuka. His position is for Nigerians to support contenders for political positions who have their plans mapped out for the country rather than for contrived candidates. He spoke to Channels Television's Susan Ilian in our election issues and personalities tracking program, Roadmap 2023.
I think what it is I always say to people as a priest that the solution to a bad marriage is not a new marriage. It's often an attempt to look at what has gone wrong. And if you jump to a new marriage very quickly, after some time you become nostalgic about the first. So metaphorically, you can say the same thing about Nigeria. It is that a lot of these changes that we have seen in Nigeria are largely unprogrammed. If you go back to even 1966, and you can run through the entire history of who has been prime minister, who has been president, who has been, whether through a military coup, there's been no linearity, if I may use that expression. There's been nothing linear, in the sense that military coups by themselves that stretch over a 20-year period were just glorified banditry and armed robbery, because you pulled a gun and you became head of state. And almost up till today, very few Nigerian presidents have come prepared for the job. If I take you back, we have President Buhari now. President Buhari already in 2011 had said, I don't want to be president again, I'm tired. He was literally pulled out screaming to be president in 2015. He took over from Jonathan. Jonathan himself, you know the circumstances that brought him to power. Yaradua, before him, Yaradua was already saying, I'm done. I want to go back to teach in the university. Before Yaradua was Obasanjo. Obasanjo was in prison, hoping that one day he'll walk out of prison, and if he's strong enough, he'll go back to his farm. And you can go on and on and on. You know, Abdul Salam was about to be retired from the military when Abacha died and he became head of state. You know, Abacha, you can go all the way down in Nigeria. You're not going to find one single person who has been president or head of state of Nigeria that came prepared for the job. That's where, if we are to return to the scene of the crime, that's where you have to go back to. That we have not had a leadership that is the result of individuals sitting down and thinking and planning and understanding the problems of Nigeria and figuring out why we don't have electricity, and figuring out why we don't have roads, and figuring out why are we so chaotic. That is away from the shadows of governance and politics, just thinking through, whether it's by way of a retreat. If you came through with seminars and conferences, and then you finally have an aggregate of answers and possible suggestions, with the database of people who have the ability, people you can call on to do X, Y, then you'll be talking about a government that can have results.
You can watch more on the interview with Bishop Kuka on Roadmap 2023. It airs tomorrow, Monday, February 19, 2023 at 9 p.m. right here on Channels Television. The former Minister of Education and founder Fixed Politics Initiative, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, says Nigerian commercial banks were not ready for the Central Bank of Nigeria's new Naira redesign policy as a takeoff. Speaking at our political program, the 2023 verdict, Dr. Ezekwesili explained that the entire policy takeoff was rushed to Nigerians and the adverse effect is devastating.
Even just by virtue of what technology is doing for us as a continent, it does make a lot of sense for us to not be loading bags of money all over the place. But when you think of how the operational plan for this policy has been bungled, it just is appalling. And to think that it also happened so close to your elections, it just is a double whammy, as the Americans would say, you know. So what you need to sort of do is figure out what are we solving for. If we're purely solving for less cash in our society as the medium of exchange, then what we would do is plan properly for the transitioning. What you can see now is that the banks are not ready. Their technology is not upgraded to the point where they can actually respond effectively. So there's a complete system breakdown. That is the principal thing that you think you're solving for. There are very clear pathways to solving it. But guess what's going on? There's a second thing that we seem to be solving for, which has now taken ascendancy over the monetary policy. We are using the central bank to solve the problem of criminality in our politics. That's an objective.
Is it working?
Is it an objective that the central bank should be smacked into? There's something wrong with that.
Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi is asking the people of Enugu North Senatorial Zone to vote for him and other candidates in the party in the upcoming elections. The governor was making the comments during a solidarity rally organized by the people to support his candidacy in the February 25th election. Governor Ugwuanyi, who's seeking election into the Senate to represent the Enugu North Senatorial Zone, on the platform of the PDP, believes his victory will be to bring developments to the zone.
Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi being received at Government Field Nsukka by his team of supporters in Enugu State. He is here to seek their vote as senatorial candidate for Enugu North and also asks for support for other candidates on the platform of the People's Democratic Party vying for different offices in the February 25th and March 11th elections. One of the federal lawmakers from the area appeals to aggrieved members to sheath their sword and show solidarity for the PDP.
This crowd is to assure you that the election is done. Whatever has been the disagreement, which happens in every large family, our appeal that PDP must come together to win 5/5 in this election, starting from here across Nigeria.
The governorship candidate for PDP in Enugu State also appeals to the people to match words with action by turning out to vote.
We must now energize ourselves, increase our energy so that we can raise the tape and get to the finish line. And the only way to do that is to come out en masse in few days' time and elect all the candidates of PDP on the 25th day of February, and then also on the 11th of March, to practicalize this support we're witnessing here today.
For the governor, who believes his 8 years in office is a testament of service delivery, asks the people to exercise their democratic and civil rights wisely.
Democracy is about choice. The power to make that choice lies in your permanent voter's card, PVC. I am confident that you have collected your PVCs. I urge you to go out en masse and do the needful on 25th February and 11th March 2023, respectively. Vote wisely, vote umbrella.
As weeks have now turned to days before the elections, everyone is watching to see how these rallies will translate to votes.
Still ahead of the news at 10, groups hold prayers to commemorate Leah Sharibu's 5th year in captivity. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. Yobe State Governor Maimala Bruni has flagged off the construction of the 5th ultra-modern market in Gaydam at the cost of 3.8 billion naira. The governor also commissioned 2 primary healthcare centers and a mega school to increase enrollment in the state. These are all part of the APC's campaign activities in Yobe East. In others news now, the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress in Ogun State is taking his campaign to a Wekoro local government area where the people have promised to support his political ambition. According to B. Otegbeye, the people are yearning for change due to the marginalization of the present administration. Ewekoro local government area is one of the 6 council areas in Ogun Central Senatorial District in Ogun State. The people are out singing and dancing as they receive the governorship candidates of the African Democratic Congress, B. Otegbeye, and his team in their communities. His supporters explain why they're backing him.
We know and we pray to the Almighty Allah that our candidate, Barrister B. Otegbeye, is becoming the next governor of Ogun State. He's readful, he's purposeful, he's diligent and very intelligent. Meeting him, we know that this one is ready. He's ready to actualize all the plans of our former governors in Ogun State.
He has the technological know-how to govern Ogun State. He has plans for artisans, he has plans for entrepreneurs, he has plans for civil servants, he has plans for everyone in the state.
Mr. Otegbeye promises that if elected governor, he will ensure no section of the state is shortchanged.
Local government is special. It should not be taken for granted by any politician. Neither should it be taken for granted by any government. We have nothing against airport being sited in Iperu. Nothing at all. In fact, it is good. But must you kill one to build another? Ogun State is prosperous enough to have 2 airports. But they have done it because they want to punish the Egba people. And Ewekoro will reject that.
He also visited traditional rulers in the area to seek royal blessings. The ADC campaign continues across other parts of the state with a message of inclusive governance for the people. By this time next week, it is expected the dark cloud over who becomes Nigeria's next president would have cleared. What remains unclear, however, is who the majority will choose. To analyze the history of this important day is Babajide Ogunsanwo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst. Babajide, great to see you, and today you have horses.
Oh yes, you know what they say, this is a race of many horses, 18 presidential candidates. We have some front runners, and hopefully tonight I'll give you some insights as to what we expect from the 3 front runners from what the polls say.
Yeah, from what science says, and we seem to be relying a lot on polls this election. But let's begin with the opinion polls, which have been giving conflicting signals. Some are for predicting certain winners, some are predicting other winners. Is it difficult to predict in this election?
So it depends. There are 2 ways to look at this, Amarachi. One is to look at it, what does the Constitution say? The second is to look at what do the facts say, trends. The first is constitutionally. For a president to win, yes, you have to have the majority of the votes and you have to score at least 25% in 24 states. That is the Constitution. But there are 3 things that the fact shows as to the trend of who becomes Nigeria's president. And I'd like us to take a look at those top 3 facts tonight. Let's take a look at the first. How to become president in Nigeria. The fact shows, Amarachi, that no one born of a woman has become president in Nigeria without winning the North Central Zone. Statement of fact. Every president that Nigeria has had always wins the North Central. In 1979, the North Central was classified then as Benue, Plateau, Niger, and Kwara. Shehu Shagari won the North Central. In 1993, Abiola won the North Central. Same thing. 1999, 2003, Obasanjo won the North Central. So what we see as the first fact is that For you to become president, going by our history, you always have to win the North Central. Again, no president has won the majority of the votes without winning the North Central. Fact one. Now let's take a look at the second fact. The second fact shows that no one has become president of Nigeria without winning at least one zone from southern Nigeria. Again, no one. If we look at the facts, in 1979, Shehu Shagari won the equivalent of the South-South zone. In 1993, Abiola won the South-South and the Southwest. In 1999, Obasanjo won the Southeast and the South-South. And in 2003, Obasanjo became the first president to win all of the zones in southern Nigeria. In 2011, Jonathan did the same, won the Southeast, the South-South, and the Southwest. And President Buhari became president again only because he won the Southwest in 2015 and the Southwest in 2019. I repeat, just like the first fact, no one becomes president, or no one has become president without winning the North Central. This second fact shows that no one has become president without winning at least one zone from the southern region. Now let's take a look at the third and perhaps the most important fact. Overall, no one has become president of Nigeria without winning a minimum of 3 zones. In other words, you will not be president based on history if you win only 1 or 2 zones. Compulsorily, history shows us that you must win the North Central, you must win 1 zone in southern Nigeria, and overall you need a minimum of 3 zones. Look at what happened in 1979. Shagari won the equivalent of the South-South, the North Central, and the Northeast. In 1993, Abiola won the equivalent of the South-South, the Southwest, and the North Central. Fast forward to 1999, we see zones won by Obasanjo: South-South, Southeast, Northwest, North Central, and Northeast. Same thing in 2003. South-South, Southwest, Southeast, North Central, and Northeast. In 2011, Jonathan won 4 zones, all zones but the Northwest and the Northeast. In 2015, Buhari won all the zones apart from the South-South and the Southeast. And in 2019, just as he won in 2015, President Buhari won all the zones apart from the South-South and the Southeast. The summary of what I've said, Amachi, is there are 3 facts that history shows. 1, no one has become president without winning the North Central. 2, no one has become president without winning at least 1 zone from southern Nigeria. Number 3, no one has become president without winning in all at least 3 out of 6 zones. And so we're going to find out next week, Saturday, will history continue or will this history be broken?
Yeah, but that still doesn't answer the question if it's difficult to predict already. But let's go on. Let's move on. Because
so the question is, it's easy to predict if you look at the Constitution and if you look at these facts. We'll then say that whoever will win has to meet these facts.
Yeah, but you can't mention any candidates now. So if we do follow the data science, what sort of results should we then expect? And why, again, are these regions important for winning the elections?
So these regions are important because of unity. We expect a candidate to have, and that for me, that should be one of the first responsibilities of whoever wins, a candidate that can bring all parts together. And I'll explain why the data science even reveals this. If we take a look at how presidents have won, and if we look at the difference between what happened in 1999 to date, you'll see that presidents of Nigeria are having less national appeal. In 1999, Obasanjo and Atiku won 28 out of 36 states. In 2003, they won similar states. Amachi, the problem today is, in the last 3 elections, we've seen a decline of national appeal of presidents. What I mean is, in 2011, if you look at what's in front of you, President or candidate President Jonathan won 24 out of 36 states. In 2015, President candidate Buhari could not win 24 states. He could only win 21 out of 36 states. And in 2019, only 19 states. Compare 19 states that President Buhari won to 28 states that Obasanjo and Atiku won in 1999. So what we've seen in recent times is presidents are having less national appeal. That is the challenge we have. And so next week, we're hoping that this trend, this dangerous trend, will be broken. We wouldn't want a president that becomes victorious by winning fewer states, because that shows less national appeal. And that brings us to exactly what we call this three-horse race, because this is where people are interested in what exactly, which of these horses will win.
Yeah, so we will be looking at that probably next week when the results are out, Babajide, because I know you will be here to give us more analysis on that. Thank you so much.
I was just about to tell you which of these horses.
Lovely,
I was going to tell you which of these horses is about to win, but
let's not do that. let's not do that.
All right.
Before we might.
I'll share more thoughts with you during the week.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And just one more political story now before we go on to others. The presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has met with the River State PDP stakeholders in Abuja. The former national chairman of the party, Prince Uche Secondus, Senator Ben Bruce, former governor of River State, Celestine Omehia, are among other prominent party members present at the meeting. The Director of Public Communications, Senator Dino Melaye, says the meeting is compensation for the River State rally, which was shelved by the party owing to the impasse with the state governor. According to him, the PDP's presidential candidate jettisoned the rally in Port Harcourt to forestall a bloodbath. Five years into Leah Sharibu's stay in Boko Haram captivity, special prayers have been held in Abuja, hosted by the Leah Sharibu Foundation, alongside other civil society and religious groups calling for her release. At a prayer service held at the Church of Christ in Nations in Garki, Abuja, the representative of Leah Sharibu's family, Mrs. Gloria Sandy Puldu, urged President Muhammadu Buhari to keep his promise of ensuring Leah Sharibu is returned to her mother before the end of his administration. Her family notes that what they described as the loud silence on the part of the presidential candidates on the plans to ensure she's released from captivity if they come into office. Our correspondent, Kayla Negwa, reports.
The solemn atmosphere here at the Church of Christ in Nations, Garki, Abuja, underscores the pain faced by the congregation as they've gathered to commemorate the 5-year anniversary of Leah Sharibu's stay in Boko Haram captivity. Leah is one of 110 girls kidnapped by Boko Haram from the government secondary school in Dapchi in 2018, the only one still in Boko Haram captivity from her group for refusing to denounce her Christian faith. There are solemn songs from the choir. After reading out the speech of the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, the chair of one of the foundations hosting the prayer meeting makes a plea to the Buhari administration.
The President Buhari has failed to deliver Leah up to date. He made a promise, and I was there when he made that promise. My sister, Dr. Puldu, was there when he made that promise. That he will do everything to deliver Leah to her mother. And after that, we chose to be quiet. Let all the presidential candidates not sleep until they have a strategy of bringing Leah out, if this government does not bring Leah out before the end of May when they leave power.
Still visibly grieving, Leah Sharibu's family again begged for her release.
For us, we are addressing you for the very last time, Mr. President, because we have less than 100 days in office. If you are not able to bring our daughter back, just know that our Father who is seated in heaven will hold you responsible. God, we pray
using girls in the congregation under the age of 20 as a point of contact. Relatives of some of the girls still in captivity and missionaries from across the country begin special intercession for the release of Leah Sharibu, peace in her family, as well as the return of all people still in Boko Haram captivity.
You will deliver Leah in the name of Jesus.
This year, 2023, Leah Sharibu will be 19 years old. She's been in Boko Haram captivity now for 5 years. The grief of the families who've got family members who are still in Boko Haram captivity is palpable at today's service, and they have one cry, asking President Muhammadu Buhari to ensure that he keeps his promise of making sure that Leah Sharibu is released from captivity before he leaves office. They're also calling on all the for the job in the land in the next elections to make sure that they make the release of Leah Sharibu a priority. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
The police have foiled an attack and killed 6 suspected members of the outlawed Independent People of Biafra, IPOB, and the Eastern Security Network following an attack on its divisional police headquarters in Oyi local government area of Anambra State. A police spokesperson, Ikenga Tochukwu, says the insurgents came in their numbers on 2 SUV vehicles armed with guns, IEDs, and petrol bombs and started shooting to gain entrance to the station. They were fiercely engaged and resisted by the operatives. During the gun duel, 1 police operative attached to the station was fatally wounded, while an office in the facility was partially affected by the petrol bomb. A patrol vehicle parked in front of the station was also set ablaze by the gunmen. Turkey's disaster agency says rescue efforts have been ended in all but 2 provinces in the country, nearly 2 weeks since the devastating earthquake that struck on Monday, February 6th. While searches continue in 2 of those provinces, hope is fading on finding anyone else alive in the rubble. The death toll is expected to climb. It's currently above 46,000, with about 345,000 apartments in Turkey known to have been destroyed and people still missing. Neither Turkey nor Syria has said how many people are still unaccounted for. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says China is considering giving Russia weapons and ammunition for the war in Ukraine. Speaking to press in the United States, Mr. Blinken said Chinese companies are already providing non-lethal support to Russia, and new information suggests Beijing could provide lethal support. China has denied reports that Moscow has requested military equipment, but President Xi Jinping is yet to condemn Russia's invasion, but has sought to remain neutral in the conflict and called for peace. Seven-time African under-20 champions, the Flying Eagles of Nigeria, this evening began their campaign at the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations on a losing note. The Flying Eagles lost by a lone goal to Senegal at the Cairo International Stadium. Faye Suleiman got the only goal of the game on the 26th minute of the first half. Earlier, host Egypt and Mozambique played a goalless draw. Both teams will be back in action on Wednesday when Nigeria faces host Egypt and Mozambique, Senegal. Bendel Insurance this evening ended its first round of Nigeria Professional Football League unbeaten with a 1-0 win against Enyimba International at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City. Imade Osareko scored the only goal of the game in the 29th minute of the first half to take the Benin Arsenal to 23 points from 9 league games to stay top of Group A. Shooting Stars of Ibadan were held to a 2-2 draw by visiting Aqua United in another Group A game. In Group B, Bayelsa United and Enugu Rangers played a 1-1 draw. Lobi Stars of Makurdi finished the first round as group leaders following a 2-0 win against Doma United to pick their 6th win of the season and are on 19 points. Sunshine Stars beat Biki Tourists 1-0, while Niger Tornadoes edged Dakada FC by same scoreline. Son Heung-min produced the perfect response after being dropped as the South Korea forward came off the bench to seal Tottenham's 2-0 win against West Ham earlier this evening. Son has struggled badly this season, and his poor form convinced Tottenham's absentee boss, Antonio Conte, to axe him for the Premier League clash. Prior to this weekend, the 30-year-old had scored in only 4 matches this season. A brace for Marcus Rashford and a goal from Jadon Sancho earned Manchester United a 3-0 win against Leicester City as they closed the gap on Manchester City to just 3 points. And just before we go, on our programming notes, we would like to inform our viewers that the second part of our youth program, Robbing Minds, comes up right after the news. And the main news again. The APC National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress and its governors today urged the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, and Attorney General of the Federation to respect the Supreme Court order on the 500 and 1,000 naira notes after an emergency meeting in the nation's capital. President Muhammadu Buhari called for more patience on the naira crisis while reaffirming his support of the APC's presidential candidate Bola Tinubu in Saturday's election. Rescue efforts have ended in all but 2 of the hardest hit provinces in Turkey. Hopes of finding anyone else alive is fading. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Imani. Good night. Stay safe.